competition. We're excited to have each one of you here because this is our team call. This is where we meet for encouragement and inspiration and to remind each other of the miracle of life. Life is so much better when we feel good. And I want you all to know the importance of living a healthy lifestyle. So one of the very most important pieces of a healthy lifestyle is proper hydration with healthy water. And folks, that's because our body is about 75% water, and that's most of us. So tonight we want to focus on why a little machine that makes Kangen water is so special. Here we go.
Yes, Jan, I can hear you.
Okay, good. Stu, what I'd like you to do is just sort of give us a kickoff here. First of all, give us a disclaimer for our call and get us started, and then I'd like you to introduce our speaker for us.
Okay, happy to do that. Thank you, Jan. Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us tonight. Our call is a little bit different tonight. Usually we will focus on a specific health challenge and the science behind what causes the problem in your body and how the special properties of the water helps the body to balance and assist the healing process. Tonight we're going to focus not on a health challenge, but we're going to focus on the challenge of making the right decision on if you're going to buy one of these water ionizers, which one do you get? And it's really going to be one of our most important calls because in spite of everything that you may learn from the information we're sharing with you, from the research you do on your own, any inspiration you're going to get from testimonies, experiences of other people, it all comes down to what choice you make in the end. And it's really, really important that you make the right choice here because you can become a believer and understand the water, the properties, the science behind it, and go out and buy one of these cheap, low-quality machines, and you're going to be disappointed. You're never going to get the health benefits that we're talking about. You're never going to see the true benefit you could be getting because the truth is there's only one company in the world that's making these machines to the exacting standards of a medical device. There's only one company that refuses to cut corners. That's Enagic. That's the Japanese technology. There's a reason after 42 years of making these, they're still the gold standard in the industry. They are the very best for multiple reasons. Tonight we're going to share those with you and the importance on, okay, you pay more money. You know, it's like everything in life. You get what you pay for, and the best value you'll ever get is real quality, and that's what you get with Enagic. Tonight we're going to give you some information so you'll have a better picture and understanding of all this. So having said that, I'll also give a little disclaimer here because I want to make it clear. We're sharing information. We're sharing our opinions. We'll have other people sharing their own experiences. We're not sharing medical advice. We're not here to give you medical advice. We're not doctors. That's the realm of medicine, and we'll leave unto Caesar that which is Caesar's, and that's what we'll do. We'll leave that up to the medical people. What we're going to talk about isn't medicine. What we're going to talk about is health, the science of health. And we're not claiming that the water cures diseases. We're not claiming it prevents diseases or treats diseases. We're not implying that it does. All that we're going to share with you, and the theme of everything we share every time, is that our bodies are designed to heal themselves on a cellular level. It's the great miracle of life. The bodies are always trying to heal themselves on a cellular level. They know how to do it. It's in the DNA. It's in the genetic code. The body knows exactly what to do. When you cut yourself, you don't have to worry. The body knows how to form a blood clot. It knows how to make a scab. It knows how to make new skin. When you break your bone, it knows how to knit the bone and heal itself. The body knows what to do. Problem is, it can't heal itself when it's acidic, when it's toxic, when it's dehydrated. In order for the body to use its innate ability to heal, it has to be alkaline, it has to be well hydrated, and it has to be detoxified. And that's exactly what the water does better than anything else in the world. So don't think we're making medical claims. We're flat out stating that we're not making medical claims. We're making health claims. We're not making claims that the water will heal you or cure you. We're simply claiming that there's a science involved in health and that the body has the ability to restore that health on its own And what our goal and the goal of all health science and medicine should be is to help the body do that. And that's really all the water does. It helps the body get back into the balance it needs to be in so that it can use its own healing abilities. Okay, so Jan, I think that's sufficient on disclaimer. And tonight, before we get into the details, some of the background on what the water does, or what the ways in which the Japanese technology is superior, and the things you have to be careful about on the internet that will try to deceive you and get your money by selling you a cheap, inferior, low-quality product. Before we do that, we're going to have a testimony. We're going to actually have someone that's going to come online. His name is Isaac. Isaac's down in Georgia, I believe. And Isaac's going to share what his thoughts were when he was out there doing what you're doing. When he was out there hearing about this machine, when he was looking over the technology, trying to decide if it was real, if it was something he could believe in, that's something that he could, put his faith in, and more than anything, not just his hard-earned money, but trust his family's health in. And Isaac had to go through a lot of the learning and thinking processes that a lot of us went through, and he's going to share his experiences with us. So, Isaac, if you can hear me, and if you could come on the line and join us, we would appreciate it.
Okay, now, Stu, I need to wait just a moment and put us there, so hold on.
Okay. Jan, can you hear me? Isaac, we hear you. Jan will be back in a moment. She's making the adjustment on the line.
There you go. Okay, Isaac, you're on. Go ahead and say, Jan, can you hear me again?
I heard him say it a moment ago, Jan.
Yes, he'll be back.
Okay.
Go ahead and unmute yourself again.
Jan, can you hear me?
Yes, we sure can. Okay. All right, we got you on. Go ahead.
Thank you so much, Stu and Jan. I apologize for that technology glitch. I appreciate you giving me a chance to just share my story tonight. It's great to speak with you again, Stu. I know that you played an integral role in my understanding of this, but you may recall back in 2014, my wife had actually introduced me to this water technology, and on August 4th, 2014, that might have been any other day for any other person, but for me, it actually began a tremendous journey with this water technology. So the reason I'm on this call tonight is really just to share a real-life story and tell you I was a skeptic, a big skeptic, to be honest. And my wife, if I didn't understand and know her for the 26 years we've been married, and I wasn't dealing with a huge medical issue, I wouldn't have given this technology much of a read or even tried it as much as I did. But before I explain a lot of the details, let me just set the stage so that it can help people appreciate why I'm speaking tonight. And it's really all about my journey. And I know that everybody that I talk to has their own journey, and the most important journey is the one that you're on. So I thought it'd be important to just kind of tell you a little bit about mine so this makes a little bit of sense. About 15 years ago, I experienced a major life change when I got impacted from a tick that bit me on my left shoulder, and I got Lyme disease, and that was on August 31st, 2001. I was only 36 at the time, and I was really in the prime of my life. I was a University of Georgia graduate, licensed commercial pilot, successful insurance broker, and was raising 3 kids that are now teenagers now. So Lyme disease really changed my life and everyone else's around me. So if you fast forward a little bit, I'm now 51 years of age, and it's about a year and a half ago that my wife told me about this water machine, and I thought, what in the world? A water machine? I've been drinking water for 28 years, no caffeine really to speak of, very little sodas. I just decided when I was at the University of Georgia, I'd heard about this caffeine addiction. I just quit all the caffeine back then. And, I did it for what I thought was good, healthy reasons. I wasn't sick at the time. So I've been drinking water for 28 years, and I thought, water's water. How in the world could Kangen water be any different? So that was really a little bit about where my skepticism came from. But I can tell you this, Stu, that over the last 25 years, I've been in the healthcare business as a professional, as an insurance broker. I've helped a lot of people through a variety of difficult situations. And I got to tell you, my professional side and my intellect, or what I try to do is try to help people make good decisions and make the complex seem a little bit easier to understand. And that is putting insurance together and quotes and rates and finding the best product at the lowest price possible. Well, that last 25 years impacted my life and the way that I approached this. And I'll tell you, I learned a lot of valuable lessons in fighting Lyme disease. Many different doctors, specialists, hospitals, all kinds of medications and treatments. So while my body was failing, I was trying to do everything I could to get my life back. So I spent lots of money. My wife introduced me to this special water because I've quite honestly just tried everything. I just didn't think that this could work, but I didn't want to discount my wife. I decided to pay attention to her because I know for the last 19 years she's been a health and wellness coach and really been studying a lot of great things to help me in my life, as well as some of my other issues with our family and the medical issues that we had within our family with our 19-year-old son. But anyway, my wife had been given a book, How to Kill Cancer, Not People, in Chapter 6. That's how she was introduced to the Kangen water machine. So while she was intrigued, she became very knowledgeable. I resisted the water. She asked me to drink it, and quite honestly, I just really gave in to her and decided to drink it. I was very uneducated about the science of restructured ionized water. In fact, I knew what water was, but I didn't have any idea what ionized water was. So I began to drink it, and within about a couple of weeks, I noticed significant improvements in my blood, my energy, my pain, all my symptoms, and so my life changed for the better. But one by one, the negative impacts of Lyme disease started to dissipate. So while I was getting the special results from the special water, and my body was enjoying it, and it started crying out for this special water, I began to pay very close attention because of the results that I was getting. I was unable to get from anything else I was doing. So you got to remember, or I'll just say this, I was taking 34 to 47 pills a day plus IVs, spending medications. We were spending about $1,100 a month just on one of the medications, and that's out-of-pocket costs. So in reality, I had a lot of things to go against what I was trying to do with this water, and that was I didn't need a machine to do something I could get out of my tap or I could buy from a bottle. Little did I know just how dangerous drinking bottled water could be. And I will tell you, I thought if this water is good, surely I could find a machine that could be less. And so that's what I did. I let my professional side, my analytical side start getting involved, and I started shopping all the different manufacturers out there. I studied the S&P technology, the mesh plate versus solid plate, transformers, power output, warranties, and the manufacturing process. And little did I know, I learned a lot of valuable lessons, and that is how the competition buys keywords. Because when I went out there on the internet, I found out that, this was after the fact, that when I went out there to research the other ionizers and the manufacturers, that there's no independent water review ionizers out there. And, they're not factual in some cases, and they use misleading information. So my focus was really about trying to save money. And so while I was trying to save a little money, I realized that it could cost me a lot of big money later. So as I studied this and talked with people and talked with manufacturers, I started studying about all this technology. And I'll tell you, Stu, you had a significant impact on my life, but it all came as a result of the fact that I was just an inch away from making a bad decision when someone named Charles Schaaf introduced me to you, Stu. And I didn't know you from Adam, but I will tell you this. I've gotten to know and appreciate Charles Schaaf for the tremendous friend he's become, and I didn't know him either. However, what he did is I feel like God put him in my life to introduce me to this great machine, this great technology, because in reality, while Lyme was trying to take my life, I was trying to fight to get it and to keep it. And so Charles Schaaf and you, Stu, had a huge impact on my life. It was Saturday morning, and actually I was just about an inch away from buying one of the competitor's brands to save me about $1,200. And I came to you, and it was a Saturday morning, and I was about to watch an SEC football game, so I really wasn't interested in coming back to the Kangen water machine because I felt like I'd done all my due diligence and found a machine and a manufacturer that could accomplish the same with less money. And the amazing thing is that I challenged you, Stu, and brought up all the details of the research that I had uncovered from Tyant and Alcaviva and Baywell and Jupiter and other manufacturers. And I talked about the processes, and one by one, you took the knowledge I had, and it gave me both sides of the equation, and a greater and deeper understanding for the difference in Kangen water and why they're number one versus the competition. And I realized that now, as I look back at it, there's a huge difference between competitors and predators. And, you know, some people, unfortunately, go out there and they save money, but they pay big money later when they deal with heavy metal toxicity and they deal with other issues that come from buying poor technology or less superior products. So when you asked me the questions you did, you caused me to think. And I can just tell you, thank you so much for that. And in the end, the results that I was experiencing from the Kangen water machine, because I did keep drinking the water. That was one thing I did. Even while I was doing my research, I drank from the Kangen water machine. And the results that my body started having were phenomenal. In fact, I remember going to my Lyme disease specialist up in Washington, D.C., and I'd been asking them to track my symptoms and to look at my blood work and do all this work. And the last visit I had with him, which is March 31st, 2015, we had done 21 different vials of blood. We were examining all these different issues and tracking. And, of course, we changed none of my medications. And the amazing thing is that everything started to change. And at that visit, I asked him the question and say, hey, Dr. So-and-so, what do you think about my blood work now? And I'd been on the water machine for about, I guess, 6 months at the time. And he looked and turned around and he said, perfect. So in the reality, I just tell you that my body was fighting, and I know my immune system is created by God and does wonderful things. And the water machine, the Kangen water, actually put my body into balance so that my immune system could do the job that it needed to and was capable of. So the Kangen water was actually part of the protocol that got me there. I thank God first. I thank the Kangen Water Company, or Enagic, or Kangen Water, for what they did or what it's doing, because I still drink it. We own a machine, and I didn't even think twice once I understood how valuable this machine was. And I also thank my wife for leading me to, and caring enough, but leading me to this great water. I thank Charles, and I thank you, Stu, for all your impact and for y'all's patience in giving a professional like me, who thought I knew it all, an opportunity to really come at you with all the science of what I learned. In reality, I was just an inch away from making a train wreck of a decision. So, I'd just like to say that once you start drinking the water, you'll learn what we know, and I know there are a lot of people that are on this call. So just take the advice that I was given. Just drink the water. Your body will thank you for it, not to mention it will begin to start craving it. In the meantime, do like I did and everybody else needs to do so that you feel good about it, but educate yourself about this amazing technology. And be sure to thank the person who cares enough about you that got you on this call, because quite honestly, if it weren't for Charles, and if it weren't for Stu, and if it weren't for my wife, I would not be in this position. So I pray that something I said tonight will make a difference to everybody that's listening to this call. But when you look at it this way, there are skeptics out there that are listening to the call because they're just like me. It's all about money. And when the cost of the machine is the number one priority, and to me, the very first thing I did when my wife told me about this technology, I asked her, how much does it cost? And she told me, and that number was the very reason why I decided not to do this. It was all about trying to get the technology for less. And quite honestly, after drinking it, after studying it, after learning about it, there's no way you can get the kind of technology and the quality. This is not like buying a pair of shoes where you can just try it on and walk in them and save, 30, 40, 50%, and it not cost you much. But when you take a device like this and you drink it and you put it on the inside of your body, that savings can cost you an awful lot in your health. And really, there's only two types of people that I run into: those that spend their health to gain wealth. And then, like me, at age 36, I started spending all my wealth to gain my health back. So I spent over 6 figures out of pocket fighting Lyme disease, and it was expensive. But I can tell you this, as of December 20th, 2015, I'm off of all medications. I was released from my Lyme specialist on March 31st, 2015, and because no longer needed his care. And the reality is, it didn't cost me money to have this machine. It actually gave me my life back. And my wife actually has this true statement. And she tells people when we talk to people about this water technology, She says to people that this machine gave me her husband back, and that's me. And I got to tell you, if you walked in my shoes, and there are people out there dealing with all kinds of different issues, whether it's cancer, lupus, Crohn's disease, etc., your journey is so important, but it can be a part of your past if you do the right things. And I just want to thank Enagic and Kangen Water for making a huge impact in my life. So thank you, Sue and Jan, for giving me an opportunity to at least share a few things from my heart tonight. I hope it's made a difference.
You're sure welcome, Isaac. Thank you. That is just a great job you did. You just explained things beautifully and very sincerely, and I thank you so much for taking the time to share it with us.
Thank you, Isaac. We sure appreciate you.
Sure thing.
Okay. Folks, that was a great testimony, and we are going to go follow that up right now. I am going to be asking Stu some questions so that you'll understand what happened to Isaac can also happen to you. So if you'll pause with me for a minute, I'll get us back into presentation. Okay. Now, Stu, I have some really important questions that I want to ask you tonight. And the reason I'm going to ask these is because Isaac had such a fantastic story there. And if you've heard him on other calls, you know it was a life and death situation. How'd you like to wake up every day fighting for your life for 14 years? And it's very emotional for the whole family. And I know that a lot of people out there, it could be maybe one of our spouses, it could be a child, it could be a mom or dad or our friend or our neighbor, but a lot of people are going through things out there, and we definitely want to help them make the right choice. So, Stu, tonight I've got several questions that I need to ask you so that people will make the right choice and they'll feel good about what they chose. And the first question, Stu, that I'd like to ask you is this. There are so many voices out there on the internet, maybe from friends, people that you've met. Who are we going to believe, and why should we believe them? Whose opinion are we going to believe?
Well, Jan, I think that's a great question to start off with, and thank you for asking it. I'm a big believer that you need to look at the credentials of who you're listening to. There are websites out there that will tell you, multiple websites out there that will tell you that this is snake oil, that this water's a hoax, that it can't do all these things that we're seeing it do every day, that we know it does, but there's still websites out there that will say it can't do it. Well, if you look into those websites and you do a little research, you find out that they're sponsored by people who have an interest in the status quo of medicine in America. People like Big Pharma. They literally sponsor people. They shadow sponsor people to put up websites to try to discredit. One of them's called Quackbusters. They'll try to discredit anything that competes with their drugs. So they'll try to discredit a chiropractic. They'll try to discredit. Jan, can you hear me?
Yes, I sure can. You're coming through good. Stu?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. You're coming through good.
Okay, sorry. I got mixed up on my mute button. But anyway, there's websites that will try to discredit this to make you believe it's not real. Equally bad, there are multiple websites out there that will try to make you think that you can get something for nothing. That you can buy a machine, that costs 1/3 of what our machines cost and expect to get the same benefit and same results. And, of course, nothing could be further from the truth. You just can't do that. But their websites are very good at deceiving people. I've reviewed these websites, as you can imagine. I've been dealing with this for years now. And I find statements on there that are deliberate deceptions, that are deliberately misleading. I've actually found statements on these competitive websites that are deliberate lies, that just flat out are not the truth. But, the Internet's unregulated. People can pretty much say whatever they want to say. Talk's cheap. You can say just about anything, but it doesn't mean it's the truth. So if you're the consumer, like I was, when I first learned about this, like Isaac was, like you were, Jan, like we all were, when you first hear about this, you're going to hear different opinions. You're going to hear one company that says, "Oh, ours is the best." You hear another one that says theirs is the best. You're going to hear all these different claims and different reasons why. But ultimately, what it comes down to is, who are you going to believe? Where do you put your trust? And I suggest that in making these decisions, put your trust in the people that have education, that have knowledge, that have credentials, that don't necessarily have an agenda to deceive you, but, people that are respected, that, actually are professionals, that actually have expertise, experience, knowledge in the field. For example, you can go on the internet now and you can see these water ionizer review sites, and they try to pretend that they are independent raters of water ionizers. They act like they're Consumer Report. Of course, they're not. They're not independent at all. The people that are sponsoring these websites and putting them up there are actually the salesmen that are selling these competitive machines. And guess what? They always rate the machine they're selling very favorably, usually higher than anybody else's, and they'll try to give you the illusion that this is some kind of an objective analysis or an objective review. Well, here's the truth. There are no independent water ionizer review sites on the internet. They don't exist. Anybody out there that's showing you a review site out there that's trying to compare other ionizers, they have an agenda. They're in the business of selling ionizers, and they're trying to lead you through deception into theirs being the best. So are you going to make a decision for you and your family that's going to affect your health and your family's health for the rest of your life based on what a salesman on the internet's trying to sell you? Or would you think you could put more credence in what a doctor says, especially if it's a doctor that studied this diligently, that maybe has gone to Japan as a guest American doctor and toured their hospitals, and who saw firsthand the miracles this Kangen water is doing over in Japan? Let's say a doctor that's got more than 20 years of clinical experience with tens of thousands of patients with this water. Now, who do you think you should put your faith in? What this doctor says with 20 years of experience with tens of thousands of people, who's gone to Japan and actually seen the results in their hospitals there? Or a guy that's out there trying to sell you something on the internet that's a salesman? It doesn't have a medical degree, doesn't have a background in health science, doesn't have patience, doesn't have 20 years of experience. He's a Johnny-come-lately out there trying to make a quick buck, marketing a cheap copycat of the real technology. So, I mean, if you think about it, obviously you'd want to believe the doctor, the professional that's got 20-plus years of experience, wouldn't you? Well, that's what we offer with Enagic. We've got real experts. We've got real professionals that have got actual clinical experience. Let me give you an example. Dr. Barry Ott, who's been a guest on this show many times, on this call many times. Many of you have heard him. He's a brilliant doctor. He's been using this water with his patients now since the fall of 2008. So, 6-7 years of experience with literally thousands of patients. He's seen miracles with it. I would put a lot more faith in what he has to say. Dr. Ott, as you've heard him say yourself, thinks this is the healthiest water in the world. It's the very best you can get. The man I just referred to a minute ago, Dr. Dave Carpenter. Dr. Carpenter is the one that went to Japan and toured the hospitals over there to see how they were using the water. Now, he's got literally more than 20 years of clinical experience. He actually is a great person to listen to because Dr. Carpenter has experience with all these other machines that are on the market. Because when he first learned about the water, it was like back in 1990. It was like, 13 years before Enagic and the Japanese technology was even available in the United States. He had traveled to Japan as a guest American doctor and saw how they were using the water, and when he came back to America, he immediately wanted to get an ionizer to share with his patients and recommend to his patients, but the Japanese technology wasn't available in the United States. Back in 1990, you couldn't get an Enagic machine here. We're all lucky. We have the chance now if they're finally here in the United States, we can buy the real thing. The one that's built as a medical device and is approved by the Japanese Ministry of Health. That's got over a 40-year track record with hundreds of thousands of people. Dr. Carpenter didn't have that ability. He went on the internet and bought one of the cheap ones from China. Within 30 days, it broke down. It completely broke down. He couldn't get his money back. It's sitting down in his basement to this day. Then he went on the internet and bought a Jupiter machine out of South Korea. One of them made by a big conglomerate over there that makes a dozen different machines under different labels. And he gave water to his patients for a whole year. Now think about this. For a whole year, he gave water to his patients, thousands of them. Not one single patient ever reported any dramatic improvement in their health. Not one patient wanted to buy a machine or continue drinking the water because none of them got the health benefits that he'd seen with the Japanese technology in the Japanese hospitals. He was very frustrated. He didn't give up, though, because he'd seen it with his own eyes. He knew what was possible. He knew it was real. He knew it wasn't snake oil. He just had to find the right machine. So he goes on the internet and he buys another one. A year later, the same thing. None of his patients are showing any benefit. And year after year after year, he would go back to the internet and do his research and try to come up with a better machine. Over a 13-year period, I mean, I know him personally. I've talked to him personally about this. I've attended his lectures. I've read 2 of his books, but I mean, I know him personally as well. And he told me over a 13-year period, he bought 8 different water ionizers. Now, you heard Isaac say he was about to pull the trigger buying the wrong one. Well, imagine how Dr. Carpenter felt. He bought 8 of the wrong ones. And over 13 years, he spent close to $20,000 on those machines. And literally, after 13 years with tens of thousands of patients, nobody reported any significant benefit. And nobody wanted to keep drinking the water or buy their own machine because they weren't noticing any change in their life. And he wasn't noticing any change in his own life. He was so frustrated. He told me that he finally came to the conclusion that it must be the source water. There must be something different about the water in Japan than the water here. It couldn't be the machine because he bought 8 different machines and couldn't get the results they were getting. Well, in January 2003, the Enagic machine became available in the United States. And he, even though he'd spent $20,000 on machines that didn't work, he immediately flew to Los Angeles and bought one of the machines because he knew what he'd seen with the Japanese technology. He was overjoyed that it was finally available. Well, guess what he says? He says it was like a miracle. He said literally overnight, all of his patients that he was giving the Japanese, the Kangen water to, the real stuff, all of them were coming back and reporting health benefits. I mean, cancer's going into remission. Not making claims here that it was curing things, but this is just what was happening with his patients in his clinical experience. Asthma, allergies, migraines, pain conditions. I mean, all these conditions, all these patients starting to dramatically improve because of the body's ability to heal when it's exposed to the right water. And that's what he was experiencing. So to me, that's somebody you should listen to. Why would you listen to some salesman on a competitive website that's going to make a buck if you buy his machine when he has no expertise or experience? He's just marketing, hawking his wares. Why not listen to Dr. Carpenter, who not only has over 20 years clinical experience with tens of thousands of patients and literally tried 8 of the machines that didn't work, but he even wrote a book on it. I mean, he literally wrote a book on this subject. He's a world-class expert in this field, and he says that the Kangen water is the best in the world, that there's nothing even close to it, that it's the gold standard in the industry. So if it's me, and I'm John Q. Public out there, and I got to make a decision on which machine to buy, I'm going to put a lot more faith in what this doctor's telling me with his 20 years of experience, having bought 8 of the wrong machines that didn't work, and with all the miracles he's seen since he got the right machine. But the name of the book is Change Your Water, Change Your Life. And I'm actually holding it in my hand. So here's, I'll share this with you later. But that's just one example. Now, here's another doctor, Dr. Michael Renaud, down in Lake Mary, Florida. Dr. Renaud spent over 30 years testing different water machines, looking at different water companies or water technologies. And she literally says in her book, by the way, she also wrote a book about the water. I mean, that's pretty impressive. But water helped her patients so much, she felt compelled to write a book about it. It's called The Missing Link in Health. And I'm holding that in my hands right now. And here's what she says. I mean, this is an expert. I mean, she's got over 30 years of clinical experience with tens of thousands of patients. She's one of the leading naturopathic doctors in the world. Here's what she says. The most important decision you can make about your health is deciding what type of water you're going to drink on a regular basis. That's pretty simple. That's pretty cut and dry. The most important decision you can make about your health is deciding what type of water you'll drink on a regular basis. Do not take this lightly. Spend some time researching and talking to people who have experienced the benefits of health-promoting waters. The technology that is used to produce high-quality water requires high-quality components and will generally cost more. Well, ours does. Enagic costs more than any in the world because they use the best components. Do not compromise when it comes to your health. You will pay a much higher price later. And think what Isaac just said. He has spent over 6 figures. That means over $100,000 on his health, and none of it gave him his health back until he spent the $4,000 on this water technology. So you get what you pay for. You will pay a much higher price later. Drink clean, highly vibrational, vital water. Drinking clean, highly vibrational, vital water will produce invigorating, energizing, anti-aging, and health-promoting effects in your body. Drinking the right type of water is the most powerful protection against cellular aging. Alkaline, microclustered water is the strongest and least expensive antioxidant on the market. High-quality water is the most vital part of the health program and the maintenance of cellular function. Without the right kind of water, DNA cannot repair itself, and aging cannot be stopped or slowed down. Reading this book will hopefully make you aware that one cannot consume our source water regardless of whether it is from tap or bottled water sources due to the widespread pollution of our planet's water. For centuries, we've been looking for the fountain of youth. In biblical times, we read that people lived over 100 years. Most of the centenarians, people living over 100 years of age in the 21st century, are living in high, still fairly unpolluted mountain regions known as blue zones. Scientists who lived in these regions with the mountain people also experienced long, disease-free life. Dr. Kawanda, who lived with the Hunza people for over 70 years, died at the age of 108. All these scientists agreed that their longevity is due to the glacial waters that come from high mountains. The water contains minerals from the glacial silt suspended in water. It has a strong negative ionic charge and low surface tension, meaning it can penetrate tissues easily, also called microclusters. The higher the negative charge, the more suspended the minerals stay in the water. The easier it is for the body to absorb it into every cell of the body. Advanced technology now allows us to reproduce this type of water. It is critical to have the right type of ionic plate technology and a strong motor to duplicate the original blue zone waters. Proper technology gives the water the strong ionic charge to produce high-quality restructured water. Technology in this case has brought the benefits of glacial waters to our homes to aid us in the quest for the anti-aging. So here's her closing remarks. After following the research on microclustered water for over 30 years, I tried many different kinds of alkaline waters with marginal results. So in other words, she tried many different ones over 30 years and got marginal results. When I was introduced to a top-quality ionized alkaline microclustered water and shared it with my patients, I witnessed incredibly positive health results almost instantly. In my 28 years of practice in holistic and biological medicine, this has been one of the most beneficial discoveries enhancing my patients' health. Well, the water she's referring to is Kangen water. So I would put a lot more credence in what she has to say than what some salesman is going to say on an internet website. And I'll just give you one more quick quote here. This is from Dr. Hiromi Shinya. Why should you listen to what he has to say? What are his credentials? Well, first of all, Dr. Shinya is the leading gastroenterologist in the entire world. He completely revolutionized the way gastroenterology is practiced by inventing something called the colonoscopy procedure. Dr. Shinya literally invented the colonoscopy procedure. He also invented the polypectomy procedure, which allows you to do colon cancer surgery without cutting you open. It's non-invasive surgery. He's clinical professor of surgery at Albert Einstein College of Medicine. Who do you think is going to know more about your health in this water than somebody that is a clinical professor of surgery at Albert Einstein College of Medicine or some guy that's a water salesman on the internet? He's also chief of the endoscopy unit at Beth Israel Hospital. People travel all over the world to come to him. He's been the personal physician for presidents of the U.S., for kings, for queens, for the emperor's family in Japan. The waiting list to see him in his office is over a year. Just to get him in his office before he retired, you had to wait that long just to see him. He won't even take you as a patient unless you agree to drink Kangen water. So here's a direct quote from his book, and I'm holding it right in my hand. It's the last paragraph, the last thought he wants to leave with his reader. Kangen water is alkaline-rich water, and it's considered the very best drinking water because of its incomparable powers of hydration, detoxification, and antioxidation. What does that mean? What does incomparable mean? It means there's no water in the world you can compare it to that will do more for hydration, detoxification, and antioxidation than this water. And this is coming from the leading gastroenterologist in the world. So I won't read you guys anymore. I won't read you any more quotes and stuff. But basically, ask yourself, if you're out there trying to decide who you're going to believe, you want to believe a common website that's its main forte is the ability to deceive people with marketing hype, or do you want to believe world-class experts? Here, Dr. Corinne Allen, one of the leading brain health doctors in the world, she says you should never drink ionized water from non-solid electrode plate machines. She says cheap machines with non-solid electrode plates produce inferior water that will not hold its energy, its structure, or its charge. Dr. Horst Filters, Harvard-trained. He taught at Harvard Medical School for more than 30 years. He only endorses Enagic's Kangen water. Dr. Michael Donaldson, down in Georgia. Dr. Michael Donaldson had a daughter who was born with all of her internal organs outside of her body. I don't know if you can even imagine that. His little daughter, Skylar, was born with her liver, her kidneys, her stomach, her colon, her spleen, all her intestines, all outside of her body. It was a miracle they could even keep her alive on life support. They put all of her internal organs in a glass tube. She spent the first year of her life in a hospital, never off of feeding tubes and life support, basically. The second year of her life, she was at home, but she required 100 hours weekly of private nursing care to take care of her. At 4 years of age, she had still never had solid food or never had a solid bowel movement in her life, had to be force-fed at night when she slept through tubes and had a Mickey button for feeding her. Dr. Michael tried several water ionizer technologies that other people had told him about they'd seen on the internet. He tried several of these with his daughter. They only made her worse. None of them helped her. He was completely discouraged. He was giving up on ionized water completely because her toxicity levels increased from the heavy metals in these cheap machines. Finally, one of his patients convinced her to give Kangen water, the real thing, the Japanese technology, a try. He was very reluctant because he'd seen that the other waters didn't help his daughter, actually harmed her. But finally, just to shut up this patient, he said, okay, I will try your water one time, but if it doesn't work, I don't want to hear about it again. He started his daughter on the water. Within 4 days, her condition had improved by 80%. Imagine that. Within less than 10 days, she had the first solid bowel movement in her life. Completely changed her life, turned her life around. So I'm going to pay a lot more attention to what he says than what some salesman on the internet says, because he tried several waters and he saw the miracle it did with his own daughter's life. Literally saved her life. And if you want to learn about it, go on YouTube. Look up his name, Dr. Michael Donaldson, just like it sounds. Dr. Michael Donaldson. Go onto YouTube in the search bar, put Dr. Michael Donaldson, Kangen water, and hear his own words why this is the best water in the world that you can buy. So, I mean, we could go on and on and on, but my whole point here is when you're out there and you're looking on the internet, you think you're doing your research. Realize that most of what's on the internet is marketing hype. They're trying to sell you stuff. I'm not saying that Enagic isn't trying to sell their machines. Of course, everybody sells their product, but they're all not made the same. And here you've got the recommendation of Dr. Corinne Allen, Dr. Moika Renaud, Dr. Barry Ah, Dr. Shinya, who invented the colonoscopy procedure, Dr. Horst Filzer, Harvard-trained cardiovascular surgeon, Dr. Michael Donaldson, Dr. Dave Carpenter, who actually went to Japan, Dr. Peggy Parker. Dr. Peggy Parker has more than 15 years of clinical experience with this water with 10,000 patients. She's got an advanced degree in biological medicine. She literally bought the other machines and disassembled them and took them apart and saw how cheaply they made were and how cheaply inside they were made. And I went to her seminar. I went to a seminar she gave for health professionals in Chicago area back in 2008, 3-day seminar, and she flat out said that there's nothing in the world that detoxifies heavy metals as good as Kangen water, and that there isn't any technology out there superior to it. It's absolutely the best of the best. So I could go on, but I think you get the point here. When you have to make your decision about who you're going to believe, I suggest you look at the credentials of the people you're listening to and give more credence to what they have to say if they have impressive credentials. Thank you, Jen.
Okay. Thank you, Stu. Wow. And thank you for bringing in the different doctors there. That does really give us the credibility that we're looking for. I still got a couple other questions here. Let me ask you this. Is there any structural difference in the machines on the inside?
Well, for most of the machines on the market, the answer to that is no, because most of the machines on the market, there's probably 15 or 20 different websites on the internet that are selling these cheap, low-quality knockoff machines, trying to duplicate what Kangen water is doing. And really, there isn't any difference in most of them because most of them are made in the same place. There's this huge conglomerate in South Korea called Emco Tech, and they make these for multiple companies. So if you get a Jupiter machine, it's made by Emco Tech. If you get a Life machine, it's made by Emco Tech. If you get any number of 10 or 12 different ones, they're all made by Emco Tech. So they're really all the same on the inside. But if you buy enough of them, they'll put your label and your shell and your exterior on the machine, and you can set up your own website on the internet, and you can try to get people to buy yours. Well, the only company that really is significantly different is Enagic, the Japanese technology, because they go to the expense that nobody else is going to. And I don't want to talk in generalities. Let me just get specific here. The biggest difference is the electrode plates. The electrode plates are like the motor or the engine of the ionizer machine. The electrode plates are what the water passes over, and you have to put a powerful electrical current into the electrode plates to restructure and change the water. If you're going to take ordinary tap water and separate the alkaline and acid minerals found in that water, if you're going to take ordinary tap water and split off the hydrogen ion, literally break up the water molecule and break up water molecule clusters and impart an electrical energy into the water, a living energy, And if you're going to turn ordinary water, ordinary tap or well water into the most powerful antioxidant in the world, you need energy to do that. You need very powerful energy. And the more powerful the energy current you can put into that water, the more thorough the ionization process, the stronger the stability of the water, the greater the properties of the water, the greater the health benefits of drinking the water. Well, to that end, the Enagic company makes their two top machines, the SD501 and their Kangen 8 model, has 7 and 8 electrode plates. And these electrode plates are 4.5 by 7 inches. I mean, I said that wrong. I think they're 4.5 by 5 inches. But they're large electrode plates, and they're thick, and they're solid. And because they're large and thick and solid, they can stand a much more powerful constant electrical current than the other cheap ones on the internet, which means more of the water is actually ionized, and the properties that are imparted into the water are more stable, stronger, more beneficial. Now, another major difference with the Kangen machine, the Enagic machines, is they won't cut corners on the components that the electrode plates are made of. They use only surgical-grade platinum and surgical-grade titanium. Literally 99.97% pure surgical-grade platinum and titanium, big 4.5 by 5, or I'm mixed up now, it might be 4.5 by 7 inch electrode plates. They're the only company in the world that goes to this expense. All the other companies on the market are making these little thin, small plates about the size of a playing card or a credit card. Ours are the size of a VCR cassette. They're much larger, they're much thicker, they're much more durable, they can take a much more powerful electrical current. For example, we'll put in 230 watts of electrical power with 2.5 amps into the SD501. The average machine like Dr. Carpenter was buying on the internet when they weren't working for stations for like 85, 90, maybe 100 watts. Maybe one half to 1/3 to 1/4 of the power that we put into our machine. It simply means that the properties of our water are much more beneficial. And the reason they have to use the smaller currents or the weaker currents is because they use smaller, little tiny electrode plates. They're trying to cut costs. Platinum and titanium are precious metals. They're very expensive. So if you've got 7 or 8 large 4.5 by 7 inch platinum coated surgical grade titanium plates, you can imagine it costs a whole lot more than 7 little or 8 or even 9, 30, whatever number of little tiny ones the size of a credit card or a playing card. The other thing is that the Enagic plates are thick and solid. The majority of these machines out of Taiwan and South Korea and China, you'll see on the internet, they compare themselves favorably to Enagic. The majority of them use mesh plates. Mesh means it's not solid, like a mesh screen. It's like a screen window. It's full of holes. Well, why would they make their plates full of holes? Well, they spin it on the internet. They said increase the surface area, but the truth is they do it to save money, because if it's not a solid plate, it doesn't take as much platinum or titanium to make it. It doesn't take as much titanium to make it. It doesn't take as much platinum to cover it. So it's another way they can cut corners. Well, I have nothing against lower prices. What I have against is cheap, ineffective, and low quality. And when you make them this thin and this small, it limits the amount of electrical current you can put into them, the power of the current, and that limits the ability of the machine to ionize the water, and it weakens the properties of the water. That's why in 13 years with 8 different machines, Dr. Carpenter couldn't get the benefits with his patients that he saw in the Japanese hospitals, because the little plates they use, the thin plates they use, the weak electrical current, the mesh plates, they're not powerful enough. They can't take the heat, you might say, that it takes to generate the properties that are going to give the health results that he saw in the Japanese hospitals that he's since seen with his own patients. So it makes a huge difference which machine you get. The Enagic machines are the most expensive in the world. They don't apologize for it. They don't cut corners. They're the only company out there that's using these large surgical grade 99.99% pure platinum and titanium plates to this extent. They're the only company out there using 2.5 amps of power. And here's another thing. The power that they use, the electric current they use, is supplied by a transformer. This is tried and proven. It's the most stable way to put a good, solid, strong electrical current into the electrode plates. Most of these cheap machines on the internet can't do that because their plates are so thin and so small that they can't take the steady heat that a transformer produces. They have to use what they call switch mode power supply, or SMPS technology. What this means is that it regulates it on and off, on and off, on and off rapidly the whole time. It's like a pulsed electrical current rather than a steady electrical current, because their machines will overheat if they have the steady electrical current of a transformer. So literally half the time they're producing water, the machine's pulsed off with no electrical current going through it. So how can it possibly be as beneficial to your health? How can it possibly If the electrical current is what's needed to ionize the water and it's shut off half the time, it's pulsed on and off, how can it possibly be doing as thorough a job? The answer to that is that it can't. And that's why in 13 years, none of his patients noticed any benefit from drinking it, because the water simply didn't have the properties. If Isaac had bought one of these cheap machines, he'd still have Lyme disease today, in my opinion, and he'd still be suffering. And you wouldn't have heard him on this call tonight. I mean, I know people that I know wouldn't be alive today if they bought one of these cheap machines. So the bottom line is, you get what you pay for. The Enagic company uses surgical-grade platinum titanium, which is pure. All these other companies on the internet that sell these cheap ones, the reason they can make them so cheap, not only that they're smaller, they're not using surgical-grade platinum or surgical-grade titanium. There's different levels of quality in these metals. You can get food-grade, you can get jewelry-grade. I mean, a lot of these machines are only 30% platinum and titanium. The majority, the 70% of the electrode plates, are aluminum or stainless steel or copper or nickel or cadmium, whatever alloy they want to use. Well, there's a real problem there, because those are heavy metals. They're highly toxic, and they're highly reactive with water. So if you make the mistake of buying one of these little cheap machines with thin little mesh plates and a little thin spray, a little veneer coating of platinum on them, it's not the same as Enagic that uses a big, thick, solid titanium plate that it dips and seals in a thick coating of surgical-grade platinum to protect you, because you don't want the water coming in contact with these metals inside the plates, because water is a universal solvent, and it will dissolve those metals, and you'll be drinking heavy metals, and it can kill you. It can make you sick and deteriorate your health. That's the last thing you want to do. So Enagic is the only company in the world that goes to the expense of having the large plates, the surgical-grade platinum titanium, literally dipping and sealing every one of them in a large, thick coating of surgical-grade platinum that will last at least 20 years. So you don't ever have to worry about the electrode plates that you're using coming in contact with heavy metals. You don't have to worry about getting heavy metal poisoning. So those are just a few examples. Here's another way in which the Enagic machine is superior to everybody else's. Every one of these machines is handmade by one technician at a time. Just like the Rolls-Royce engines, they're handmade. The Enagic company does not use mass assembly. They don't use the assembly line production like these cheap ones out of Taiwan and China and South Korea. They literally, each machine is hand-assembled by one technician at a time from the ground up. So their quality control is absolutely outstanding. Nobody else is doing this. Nobody in the industry is doing this. So what does it mean? It means every single machine they've ever made out of hundreds of thousands, they know which worker, they know which technician actually assembled that machine. So there's no way to cover up sloppy work. You are responsible for your workmanship. And a lot of the people that, I've met a couple of them, a lot of the people that are working in the plant over in Osaka, Japan, where they make these machines, they literally have been there for 30 years. They're highly skilled technicians that take a lot of pride in their craftsmanship, as compared to, somebody that's working on an assembly line with cheap, unskilled labor in China or South Korea or Taiwan, slapping 1,000 of these together a day on an assembly line. That's not what we're dealing with. We're dealing with things that are handmade by one technician, highly skilled, from the ground up, one at a time, that are made to the exacting standards of a medical device. The competitors' websites won't tell you this, but literally these are made to the exacting standards of medical device, because they are medical devices. The Enagic company that makes the Kangen water machines is certified by the Japanese Ministry of Health to make these machines as medical devices for the Japanese population, the Japanese hospitals, and they're also certified to market them as medical devices. Each machine, after it's made, goes through 22 different points of quality control inspection by 5 separate people. I don't mean one person checked it out. 5 individuals check out these machines before they're ever released out to the public. That's how well made they are. So you're getting quality here. You're getting what you pay for. I could literally go on and on and on and on about the different levels of quality, but I don't want to spend the whole call talking about that. But here's what it all comes down to. If you are going to put your health, the life and health of your family, and you're going to make a major purchase, whether you buy a $4,000 or $5,000 machine or you buy a $1,700 or $2,000 machine on the internet, it's still a major purchase. And you want results. You want something that's going to actually give you the health benefits that you're looking for. You also want reliability. No other company in the world is making ionizers that last 20 to 25 years like Enagic is. The typical ionizer in less than a year is nowhere near the function it was when it was new. And even these cheap ones, when they're new, they're not even in the same league as the Enagic ones. But, they have a problem with scaling. Minerals build up on their electrode plates. The Enagic company designed and perfected and patented a unique cleaning cartridge. We have a patent on it where you can actually clean the machines at home. It costs like $1 to clean them. You know, you can do it whenever you want, every month, every other week, whatever you want. And because of this, it extends the life of the machine 20, 25 years, where the other ones are worthless within a year or two. And I literally know people that wouldn't believe me that went out and bought the other machines, and within a year or two, they're calling me up complaining because, they're scaling on the plates. They can't get the quality water. The company won't repair them. They can't get their money back. They just made the mistake. They wouldn't listen. So there's so many ways in which the Japanese technology is superior. The craftsmanship, the fact that they're handmade, their medical devices, the quality control inspection, they use surgical grade metals when nobody else does, pure surgical grade metals. They don't cut corners. I mean, their warranty is incredible. There's no exclusions for water quality or commercial usage. Give you an example. All the machines on the market that I've ever seen out of South Korea or Taiwan or China, they'll try to deceive you on the internet by saying that their warranties are 10 years or lifetime warranties, where ours is Enagic's only a 5-year warranty. What they don't tell you, if you use hard water, and by that they define it anything over 7 grains of hardness. Well, first of all, more than 95% of all the water sourced in the United States is hard water, very hard water, or extremely hard water. Well, if you run hard water through one of these cheap knockoffs on the internet, it voids the warranty. So what good is a 10-year or a lifetime warranty that's useless because you're going to run hard water through it, and the moment you do, it voids the warranty? It's just deception. That's all it is. And another thing is they'll have an exclusion that you can't produce more than 2.5 gallons a day with the machine. If you produce more than 2.5 gallons a day with the machine, that they call that commercial usage, and commercial usage also voids the warranty. Why would they do that? Because their machines overheat so easily and they scale so quickly that they want you to limit the amount you use it, so you'll have the illusion that you've got a long-lasting product. If they don't limit you like this and you go out and produce 100 gallons a day with their machine, within a matter of weeks, you won't be getting good quality water at all, and it'll overheat and it'll be ruined. And to put it in perspective, where if you use the machine to make more than 2.5 gallons of water with their machines in a day, it voids the warranty. On the other side of it, Enagic has absolutely no exclusion on the warranty for commercial usage. They don't care if you make 200 gallons a day. As a matter of fact, Dr. Carpenter, in that book I was just referring to, he says right in that book, I could read you the quote, he says that he typically gives out between 300 and 500 gallons of water every day in his clinic, every single day, 300 to 500 gallons a day. And all the cheap ones on the market, if you make more than 2.5 gallons, it voids the warranty. Now, I know Dr. Dave personally, and I know that he bought his machine back in July of 2003. So he's almost had that machine for 13 years at a rate of 300 to 500 gallons a day, and it's never overheated once. It's never broken down once. It's never needed any repair. That's incredible. That's how well. I've had mine for 8.5 years. It's never broken down. It's never. Well, mine needed repair one time when I plugged it into a hotel in New York. There was a short circuit in the wall, and the short circuit blew out the power supply. But that wasn't the fault of the machine. That was just a circuit.
I need to jump in here. I'm sorry, Stu, but I got to jump in, okay? Our time is getting away, and I've got a couple more really important ones that I need you to cover. And just for time restraint, I need you to simplify this. But I think we've already covered the deception part, the wording, the plates, the review sites we know are deceptive. We know the warranties can't hold up on a cheap machine. Okay, but here is something I've got to have you share with us. What happens to people when they buy a cheap machine and they start using that water? Now, you gave us a little bit of information on that. Dr. Corrine Allen has told us, don't do that. But I know personally that you have 2 examples, and I want you to share that with me right now. And then just because of time strain, I'm going to jump right close to the end here. But would you please share 2 things? And this is important, folks. I don't want this to happen to you. And usually when you're looking at the water ionizers, what's happening is there's somebody in your family that's hurting, and we don't want to hurt them worse. So, Stu, I want you to just jump into this part. What happens to people who buy a cheap machine that can't hold up? Give me 2 examples.
Well, Jen, yeah, thank you. There's lots of things that can happen. First of all, they're usually disappointed. because, their arthritis isn't going away, their cancer's not going into remission, their migraines are continuing. They're just not getting the benefits that they hoped they would get by investing in technology. They were deceived. They fell for the marketing hype, and they bought the inferior technology. They're just not getting the results. But beyond that disappointment that most people are having, I had a lady in Florida one time called me up and said that there was so much scaling on her electrode plate she couldn't produce water anymore, and when she called the company that she bought it from, they would not replace it under warranty because she used hard water. I mean, there's a lot of those kind of disappointing things that are happening. But if you're kind of referring to the health side of it, that's a lot more serious. And, having been involved in this water technology, it's really been dominating my life for the last 8.5 years because it's just simply the most amazing thing I've ever come across in 40 years of studying. I've never seen anything that's as good for your body as this water. So I've really made it the focus of my practice in my life. And one of the things, pleasures that I have is I get to meet a lot of these doctors and different people and stuff. And I was at a conference in Palm Desert, California. It's been about 5 years ago, and there was a doctor named Dr. Linda Freeland, and she made the mistake of buying one of the cheap machines. A friend had told her about the Enagic machine, and she was convinced that it was a great one, but it was $4,000 at the time. And another friend says, "Well, I found one on the internet for $2,000. That's just as good. Here's what they have to say." Well, their own hype said it was just as good. It wasn't true, but they fell for it. And the logic was, hey, we can get two machines for this price of one Enagic machine. So they each went out and bought the cheap machines. Well, Dr. Linda Freeland, without knowing any different, was drinking this water from a mesh plate machine, and she was giving herself heavy metal poisoning without knowing it. Because one of the problems with these mesh plate machines is that they're not strong enough to hold up to the constant heating and cooling. The expansion and contraction of heating and cooling can cause cracks to form in the little thin coating on the electrode plates. Because, see, these metals like titanium and aluminum, cadmium, nickel, stainless steel, these are heavy metals. When they come in contact with water, water is a universal solvent. It oxidizes, it dissolves them, especially with electrical current in there. And you can't allow yourself to be drinking these ionized heavy metals. It can kill you. So what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to seal those plates with surgical grade platinum, because the platinum is not highly reactive the way these other metals are with water. It reacts very slowly and very subtly, and actually platinum is good for the body in trace amounts, so it's not a toxic heavy metal. So it's like you want the durability of the titanium or the other metals to take the abuse of the electrical current, the heating and cooling, but you want the platinum to protect you, to insulate it, Well, when you get these little cheap machines like she bought, when you get cracks in that insulation, you know how water is, like water in the side of a mountain can cause a crack and a big cliff will fall off and stuff like that from the freezing and thawing and stuff. That's what happens. When water gets in these cracks, the coating starts to flake off, and that's what happened to Dr. Linda, and she wasn't aware of it. So shortly after drinking the water, she started getting symptoms of illness. She started getting headaches. She started getting swelling in her joints and pain. She started getting lack of energy. It kept getting worse and worse and worse. And she was very concerned. Being a doctor, she knew something was really wrong. So she's going to other doctors and getting blood work and all these x-rays and all these tests and ultrasounds, but nobody can identify the problem. Nobody has even a clue what's going wrong. They check her blood work and everything. She kept getting sicker and sicker. And I listened to her talk for over 30 minutes about what she went through. It was really grueling. But just some of the things she shared with us was that there was a time for 6 months when she didn't even get out of her pajamas and slippers. She was just so weak, she couldn't leave the house. Her daughter had to do everything, had to cook the meals, had to clean the house, had to go to the store, had to do everything because she was just too weak, and she was dying, and nobody could tell her why. And finally, she went to an old 90-some-year-old naturopathic doctor, and he did a hair analysis. He actually took some of her hair and analyzed it and sent it away to the laboratory, and they discovered she had heavy metal poisoning, and titanium poisoning specifically. And he asked her, "What are you drinking?" So she told him that she got this ionizer machine and been drinking it for 6-7 months. And he says, "Well, you're poisoning yourself, and you got to stop drinking it." So she went back home, and she took the cover off and disassembled the machine, and sure enough, all these electrode plates were all scored and cracked and deteriorated, and the water she was drinking was exposed to these heavy metals through an electrical current, and she was poisoning herself. I mean, how bad was it? I mean, she was near death. And you know how you get a nosebleed? You know how it can scare you when your nose bleeds and it keeps bleeding and bleeding? Well, in that 6-month period, 3 different times she got eye bleeds where blood flowed out of her eyes, literally, because of the effect of the titanium accumulating in her brain and behind her eyes. And she was very scared and very near death. Once they identified what was the problem, she, of course, stopped drinking water from that machine. But the other thing she did that really saved her life was she bought the Enagic machine, because she remembered that her friend that had told her about the Enagic machine months earlier, one of the properties of the Enagic machine was that it detoxified heavy metals. Well, here she is dying slowly of heavy metal poisoning, so she buys an SD501 Enagic machine to try to detox the heavy metals out of her body. And she went through 10 days of detox. I heard her describe it. The first 3 days, she said it was like her skin was on fire, like her skin was just burning. It was all the toxins being pulled out of her pores because her liver and kidney couldn't process them so fast. And there were so many poisons being pulled out of her brain that the body was dumping them out of the pores and was burning her skin. And then she said on the 4th day, she started getting really, really cold, like freezing cold, just shivering all day long. She'd wrap up in blankets and sit in front of the fireplace. For 7 straight days, she was so cold, she thought she was going to just like break her teeth from shivering. And at the end of the 10th day, it all stopped. And she went back to normal, and her health came back, and she's back practicing medicine, and she got her life back. Literally, in 10 days of drinking Kangen water, detoxified all that garbage out of her body, all that heavy metal poison she'd gotten from buying the cheap, inferior, low-quality machines. So will that happen to everybody to the extent that it happened to Dr. Phelan? Hopefully not. But here's the thing. You never know when it's happening to you. You won't realize what's causing the aches and the pains and the cancers and the problems you're getting because you're not opening up your machine. These are sealed units. Unless you take them apart and break the seal, you're not going to realize that the cheap, thin coating they put on there has allowed water to come in contact with these heavy metals. And our friend Dr. Barry, he said specifically, it's even worse than heavy metals when it's ionic heavy metals because that ionic charge makes them more aggressive in the body. Another experience I had was Dr. Sean invited me back to Missouri years ago to a seminar at his home.
We're going to have to wrap it up, so give a real short version of that because I got one more question for you, okay? So give me a short version of that one.
Okay, well, the short version of it is that one of Dr. Sean's friends, Curtis, gave water to a lady that had throat cancer. She was dying of cancer, and he started sharing Kangen water with her, and we're not going to make medical claims, but just a total coincidence, after 6 months of drinking Kangen water, cancer went into remission. Evidently, it was a total coincidence. Well, she never bought a machine. He was just giving her the water out of his generosity. It was hard. He gave it to her for 6 months thinking she couldn't afford a machine, and her cancer went into remission. Well, she was so impressed with what the water did for her that she decided she wanted to buy one of the machines, but she couldn't afford the Enagic machine. She thought the $4,000 was something she just couldn't afford. So she went on the internet and she saw all these marketing type things, how you can get the same thing for less money. So she bought one of the cheap ones on the internet. She never told Curtis about it. She felt, I think, embarrassed that he'd given her water for free for 6 months and she didn't buy his product. She bought one from a competitor on the internet, but that's what she chose to do because she thought it was going to be the same thing because that's what the website said. Well, guess what? After drinking water from that machine for a number of months, her cancer returned and she actually died of cancer. So these are a couple of experiences that I'm aware of personally, that things that can happen when you don't have the real water in your life. So to me, this is your life you're talking about. This is your health, your family's health. If you want to cut corners, buy cheap toilet paper, get gas at Costco, buy other things on savings and discount whenever you can save money, go ahead and do it. But when it comes to your life and your health, don't cut corners. Get the best you can get because you get what you pay for in this case, and you'll never regret it, and you'll end up saving the money, like Isaac said, over and over and over and over in the health benefits you'll reap from having this in your life.
Okay, that's exactly the two that I needed you to share. Thank you for that. Now, I have one more question for you, Stu, and then I'll wrap it up here. And I do need you to go really fast on this so we don't get the beep that tells us we can't talk anymore. All right, but we have some special approvals here. They're exclusive just to the Enagic business, and I want you to help me with this. There's about 5 different ones, but instead of going into a long, lengthy thing, just name them for me and give me one sentence.
Actually, Jan, I'm holding my iPad and I anticipate this, and I have it open to the Enagic website, and they show all the different certifications they have. So they have the ISO certification. They have Certified Environmental Management System certification. They have another ISO licensing. They have a medical device certification. They have the medical device marketing authorization issued by the Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare, the government of Japan. It shows the license number here. I mean, you don't have to take our word for this. You can actually see these licenses on their website. They have the medical device manufacturing license, Osaka Prefecture by the Japanese Ministry of Health. They have different registrations here from U.S. patent offices. They're recognized as a member in good standing by the Direct Selling Association. By the way, they're the only water ionizer company in the world that's in good standing with the Direct Selling Association. They have a copyright certificate of registration. They have a water. This is a big one. They're not just members of the Water Quality Association, and anybody can join the Water Quality Association if you pay the dues and subscribe to the magazine, all that. But Enagic is the first company in the world to actually have the Water Quality Association's Gold Seal certificate of approval. And they're the oldest and most respected third-party tester of water manufactured devices in the world. And Enagic was the first and only company to get their certification, their Gold Seal of approval, for the efficacy and safety of their product. They also have an award from the Earth Environmental University for environmental practices in their manufacturing process, and also for all the environmental benefits to the environment of the water technology. You know, the way that the different water quality and the different waters produced by the machine can eliminate the need for household chemicals and stuff like that. So those are just a handful, but I would say the biggest one out of those, or the two biggest one and the most significant, are it's literally certified as a medical device by the Japanese Ministry of Health. There's no other ionizer in the no other ionizer company in the world that has that level of certification from that prestigious of a thing as the Japanese Ministry of Health. And the next one is the Water Quality Association. They have that Gold Seal of approval. That's outstanding. We're the first and only company in the world to have that. And Jan, I'll just real quickly, I wanted to say I promise I won't take over a minute, but I spent so much time talking about, you know, the electrode plates and the composition, but there's other really important aspects of the Enagic machine in ways it's superior that I didn't touch on, and I'll just do it very, very briefly. First of all, the Enagic company makes these machines from the ground up in their own factory in Japan. They don't outsource anything. There's no cheap components from Korea, Taiwan, South Korea. Every single component of the machine is made in the plant in Japan. And Enagic is also the only company in the United States or in the world that's marketing these things that are original manufacturing. I mean, they literally make the machine. All the other ones you see on the internet, the people that are selling them don't make the machines. They're buying them secondhand from Taiwan and China and South Korea. Enagic actually has service centers all across North America. There's 7 or 8 of them in the United States. There's a couple in Canada. There's one in Mexico. They're all around the world, literally, where you can get your machines serviced by factory-trained technicians. No other ionizer company in the world is doing that. The Enagic machine has the endorsement of the Japanese Association for Preventive Health and Adult Diseases. Now, what does that mean? That association consists of more than 6,500 medical doctors in Japan, and they all endorse this water technology for their patients and recommend it to them. Many doctors over there prescribe this for health conditions rather than medications and drugs, and they have never given their endorsement to any other product in the entire water industry other than the Enagic technology. That's how highly respected they are. Well, I guess that's it. That's the certifications and the things. There's one other thing I will say to you, and I think this is real important. You do pay more for the Enagic machines. There's no question about that. They're the most expensive in the world. They don't apologize for it, but you get so much more. You actually get the benefits that you're looking for. You get a machine that isn't going to break down in 6 months or a year. You get a machine that's not going to poison your family with heavy metals. You get a machine that won't have to be replaced every other year. You get a machine that literally will last you the rest of your life. These machines are made to the exacting standards of a medical device, and they're literally built to last you 20 to 25 years. And the electrode plates are assembled in a housing that can be unbolted and disassembled. So even after 20 or 25 years of reliable service, you can send it back into the company for have those electrode plates redipped and have it be good for another 20 years. So literally, you're going to pay more up front, but you get real benefits that's going to save you a lot of money in your health and will last you literally for the rest of your life. So, quality is always the best value, and results are what you want, and you won't get them from any other company. There's just nobody even close to Enagic. I couldn't recommend it more highly.
Wow, Stu. Thank you for your insights tonight. You've been very helpful for us here, and folks, we could all hear the passion in his voice, couldn't we? And we want you to come back next week and hear from us again. We're looking forward to having you on the call again with us. Have a wonderful week now, everyone. Good night.